So what would happen if Bollywood, the loud and lavish center of Indian cinema, decided to make their own version of one of the world's most magical franchises? This is the story of the Hindi Harry Potter. While the books might have been bestsellers, it was only after the Wizarding World hit the silver screen that Harry Potter skyrocketed into a multimedia mainstay that would eventually rake in billions of dollars. During its original theatrical run, Pottermania ripped through the world. The movies became instant classics, broke all kinds of box office records, and ruled popular culture, so that by 2003, Harry Potter was at 5 books and 3 movies, with hype at an all-time high. Meanwhile, in India, the movie biz was booming too. Productions were starting to adopt more Hollywood sensibilities, and TV studio Creative Eye Limited wanted to be at the forefront of the industry's next chapter by going digital. Just a few years earlier, George Lucas had pioneered shooting high-definition video in lieu of film, and the tech had just arrived overseas. At a time when most Bollywood movies had budgets of, well, under $1 million, this was a game changer and gave Creative Eye the opportunity to produce a visual extravaganza that could become the country's next big cultural phenomenon. So working with audiovisual company JVC, they plan to produce India's first ever 3D movie. Don't picture James Cameron's Avatar, this was the early aughts. We're talking old school red and blue lenses. For the first time, India could actually make movies designed for this. Creative Eye figured combining the gimmick with a suitable family-friendly story ripped from the West would spell box office gold in their neck of the woods. So they quickly hired a couple of writers, including the auspiciously named J.K. Nirmal, to throw together a Hindi version of the Harry Potter story entitled Abracadabra, The School of Magic. The script lifted a ton of elements from the original Potter pictures. A young boy is sent to a spellbinding castle to learn magic. There he befriends 2 quirky classmates, a shaggy groundskeeper has a rival. The movie would feature kooky characters, magic wands, a forbidden forest with creepy spiders. I could go on. Don't even get me started about the invisibility pills. But the movie would also smartly adapt much of this source material for its own culture. Gone were the Britishisms, replaced with a heart unashamedly Hindi. Broomsticks were traded out for magic carpets. Quidditch became basically flying soccer with a flag instead of a ball. The story's spells and enchantments would borrow heavily from Hinduism. The fashion and story themes would maintain the country's cinematic staples. The story also took some unique liberties, like, for instance, instead of a wise and kind-hearted Dumbledore, this school's headmistress would be a straight-up villain out to kill the main character's father. There's a Casper the Friendly Ghost-style companion to replace Hedwig, a random, creepy Zubat-looking thing, and of course, it wouldn't be Bollywood without the singing and dancing. Abracadabra was written as a huge production, requiring a massive cast, tons of elaborate costumes, original music with its own choreography, and hundreds of visual effects shots to bring the movie's 3D magic to life. To pull it all off, director Dheeraj Kumar knew the picture would need solid financing, so he turned to a method that Hollywood had spent the past decade perfecting: product placement. Brand integration in Indian cinema wasn't uncommon. Since the mid-60s, production studios would occasionally use it to cut costs. Ed Glazier's How the World Remade Hollywood notes that a single brand deal could pay anywhere from 5 to 6 figures, and that Coca-Cola paid a whopping $670,000 for placement in the 2001 Bollywood movie Memories. But director Kumar didn't want well-known international brands, instead preferring to partner with Camlin, an Indian stationery company, and Tarl G, which produced glucose biscuits. It'd be kind of like having an American-produced movie featuring Crayola and Nabisco. The problem with brand integrations is, of course, how to integrate them. The writers needed a way to put the two companies' products into the story without breaking believability. So how'd they do it? they broke believability. Abracadabra would feature 2 subplots, each involving Willy Wonka-esque golden ticket hunts, in which both companies would exist in-world and offer scholarships to the School of Magic as prizes. This idea could have come from the fact that Hollywood was in the middle of producing the infamous Charlie and the Chocolate Factory reboot at the time. Abracadabra's main character would inexplicably find both of these golden tickets. It's literally the same side story. Twice, just different logos. But hey, our hero can pull it off because magic. There are other not-so-subtle ad spots in the movie. When fake Harry is getting picked on by school bullies, there's a Popeye's spinach moment where he gains super strength thanks to eating a Parle G biscuit, and while the students are learning to cast spells in class, in one particular scene, they're instructed to levitate Camlin-colored pencils. Not to mention that throughout the movie, the brands are constantly featured on screen, our hero sometimes literally just stopping at a TV to watch a complete commercial. While it's all a bit too much for most moviegoers, it's hard to fault the director. They've got to pay for those 3D glasses somehow. With brand deals locked in, the script finished, and a budget of just over $1 million secured, Abracadabra rolled into production with high expectations. It would feature some of the biggest names in Bollywood, boast several big musical numbers, a plot that seemed to have everything that was popular at the time, and a novel viewing format to pique public interest. In short, this was going to be India's big thing. As the movie approached release day, director Kumar launched a massive marketing campaign throughout the country. Toys, coloring books, all kinds of merchandise featuring the movie's characters. Creative Eye pulled out all the stops, renting out malls and theaters, setting up publicity booths for cast members. They hung up advertisements in schools, arcades, libraries, all in an effort to catch the eyes of kids everywhere. For all intents and purposes, Abracadabra was too big to fail. It would almost certainly launch Bollywood's new era of big box office blockbusters, and so certain were the producers of the movie's immediate success that the flick's end credits even promised a sequel. And on December 24, 2004, Abracadabra, the School of Magic, hit theaters. But stunningly, bombed. With a budget of over $1 million, the movie would need to take the #1 spot in India's box office and hold it for several months. But opening weekend found the film barely pulling in 75 grand. Word of mouth was not good. While kids might have enjoyed the movie, parents found most of the characters off-putting. The 3D experience gimmicky and annoying to sit through for over 2 hours, and the shoehorned product placement certainly didn't do the movie any favors, taking the audience completely out of the experience. While having fully rendered and realized animated characters like the friendly ghost were certainly impressive at the time for a Bollywood production, many found the actual performances of said characters annoying, and at times unbearable. Moviegoers also found that the pacing of the first half dragged far too much, no doubt hindered by plot lines designed purely for poorly integrated advertising, and while the choreography and music was enjoyable, the occasionally slapstick and surface-level humor and comedy failed to fully win audiences over. While certainly loud and flashy, the movie lacked soul. By the next weekend, word was out that Abracadabra was a dud. Even the 3D gimmick did little to inspire repeat viewers. Fewer and fewer people bought tickets, and by the end of the movie's theatrical run, only a fraction of the budget had been made back. Somehow, someway, this surefire hit was a total non-starter, and Bollywood's Harry Potter became an infamous flop. Creative Eye Limited went back to TV. This video was sponsored by Squarespace. If you've got a story, talent, skill, or business idea that you'd like to share with the world, why not finally do it with your own personalized website? Squarespace gives you everything you need to get started. Choose from one of their stunning, customizable templates and then shape it to your specific needs. Like if you want to start a podcast, it's easy. Their Audio Blocks feature gets you set up in no time. If you want to make a place for an online community, try member areas. ideas. And if you have goods or services to sell, check out their online storefronts. You can get started today by going to squarespace.com and beginning a free trial. If you like the experience, then when you're ready to launch your site, head over to squarespace.com/Austin McConnell and you can save 10% on your first purchase of a website or domain.